I am Elena Torres. I am 34 years old. I'm an ICU travel nurse, and last year I made $138,400 before taxes. I work 13-hour shifts in Phoenix, in Tucson, in Flagstaff, where my parents are Manuel and Rosa Torres. My dad is 62, retired from the city bus garage. My mom is 60. She still works part-time in the front office at Mesa High. They own a 3-bedroom stucco house on Elmwood that they have refinanced twice. In 2019, Mom needed cataract surgery, and their insurance had a $4,800 deductible. I paid it. In 2020, Sophia's first boutique pop-up failed, and she was $11,000 behind on rent for her storage unit. I didn't want them to lose the house, so I set up an automatic transfer from my Wells Fargo checking every first of the month. $1,840. I told myself it was temporary. That was 38 months ago. Do the math. That's $69,920. I have the spreadsheet. Last Sunday was supposed to be a normal family dinner. Carne asada at their house. I drove in from a contract in Tucson, still in my scrubs, because Mom said she missed me. Sophia was there, filming a family Sunday reset for her stories. Dad was at the grill. Mom and Dad looked at each other. That look, that married 50 years look that means we need to talk. Dad put his fork down. He didn't look angry. He looked entitled. He said, "Good, because we need to talk about Sophia." Sophia immediately started crying. The total at the bottom, highlighted in yellow, was $240,317. I stared at it. My stomach, The kitchen went silent. The grill was still hissing outside. Sophia stopped fake crying and just watched me. Mom added, softly, like she was helping, "You make good money, Elena." Dad blinked. What? I stood up. I pushed my chair in. Then I'm not your child. If being your child means being your emergency fund, I'm out. Mom gasped. Elena! I picked up my keys. My hands were shaking. I wasn't sad. I was doing math. I opened my phone and I opened my notes app, and I made a list titled Night 1. Item 1. Wells Fargo joint checking with Mom. Balance, $14,200. Item 5. I was the beneficiary on their small life insurance policies, and they were mine. I was the emergency contact at Mom's work. I was the person the hospital called. I drove home to my 1-bedroom apartment in Tempe. It took 2 hours and 17 minutes. I recorded the call because nurses document everything. By 11:34 p.m., I was no longer on the joint checking. The $14,220 was moved to my individual account. I knew my family. I knew exactly what would happen. Day 1 and 2, angry texts. Day 3 and 4, Mom would send Bible verses. Day 5, Dad would call and yell. Day 6, Sophia would post a vague, sad quote on Instagram. Day 7, I slept 4 hours. My alarm went off at 4:50 a.m. I was on a contract at Phoenix Children's, PICU float. I clocked in at 6:58. At 8:03 a.m., while I was priming a dopamine drip for a 4-year-old, my scheduled Mom's voicemails were different. No anger, just the voice she uses when she wants me to feel like a bad daughter. Voicemail 1. Mija, I got your email. I don't understand. We are family. Can you please call me? Your father is... I have requested removal as cosigner from Sophia's BMW. BMW Financial will contact the primary borrower within 30 days. I will no longer be available for emergency transfers, bill payments, or loan. That was their first tactic, public shaming. I didn't comment. I turned off my notifications for Facebook. At 9:17 p.m., Sophia went live on Instagram. I know because Carmen texted me a screen recording. Sophia was crying. No makeup, sitting in.
I said, "Yes, I'm sure. Please send me the fraud affidavit." I hung up and my hands were shaking. For real this time. Not from sadness.
Mija, why did you embarrass your father at the bank? He tried to take out a loan in my name, Mom. He was desperate. You left us no choice. The mortgage is due in 6 days. You had a choice.
6-4 says fathers do not provoke your children to anger. You provoked me for 7 years. She was quiet. Then she said, "So that's it? You're just done?" I said, "I was done the minute Dad said pay or you're not our child. I'm just making it official." She hung up on me. 10 minutes later, Dad called. I let it go to voicemail. His message was 63 seconds of yelling. He called me selfish, ungrateful, a disgrace. He said, "You think you're better than us because you're a nurse? You think money makes you God? Fine. Don't come to Thanksgiving. Don't come to Christmas. You're dead to me." I saved the voicemail. I transcribed it. I added it to the folder. Day 2 evening, Sophia escalated. She texted me a screenshot of her BMW payment portal. Past due $2,061. She wrote, "Thanks to you I'm about to be homeless and carless. Hope you're happy." I replied for the first time in 2 days. One sentence. "Call BMW Financial. They sent you the refinance paperwork." She replied instantly, "I can't afford it without you." I didn't answer. That night, Carmen came over with tacos. She is a social worker. She has seen this 100 times. She looked at my evidence folder and said, "Elena, you need to check your credit report right now." I pulled all 3 bureaus on my laptop. My score was 782. Good. But under inquiries, there were 2 hard pulls from the last 30 days I didn't recognize. One from Desert Springs Credit Union, the $22,000 loan. One from Freedom Plus, dated 3 weeks ago, for $35,000. I never applied to Freedom Plus. I clicked details. The application address was my parents' house. The phone number was my dad's cell. The email was a Gmail I didn't recognize. Elena Torres help@gmail.com. They had tried before. Before the dinner. They had been planning this. Carmen said, "Freeze everything. Now." I already had. But I filed identity theft reports with the FTC anyway. I got an official case number. I printed it. I sat on my couch at midnight on day 2 and I realized something that made me laugh out loud, a bitter, ugly laugh. They didn't want me to pay Sophia's $240,000 debt. They wanted me to become the debt. They wanted to put it all in my name, let me pay it for 20 years, and then call me selfish when I got tired. Day 3 was Wednesday. I worked a day shift. My phone was on Do Not Disturb except for work and Carmen. When I got out at 8 p.m., I had a text from my cousin Luis. "Hey Prima, Tia Rosa called my mom crying. Said you're cutting off the family because you're mad about money. You good?" The smear campaign had started. I texted Luis back the truth, short. They asked me to pay $240,000 for Sophia. I said no. Dad said I'm no longer his child. I agreed. Luis replied, "Holy shit." Within an hour, 3 other cousins texted me. The family group chat, which I had muted for years, was blowing up. My tia Gloria wrote, "Family helps family. Remember where you came from." I left the group chat. Sophia posted again on Instagram. This time a carousel of photos of her crying, with text overlays. Slide 1. When your own sister chooses money over you. Slide 2. $240K in debt and completely alone. Slide 3. A screenshot of my email, with my name and email address blurred poorly, you could still see it. She had 112 new followers that day. I didn't respond publicly. I documented. I screenshotted everything. I saved it to the evidence folder, which was now 47 files. At 9:43 p.m. on day 3, I got an email from Wells Fargo. Subject: Alert. Automatic payment failed. It was the mortgage payment I had canceled. The system had tried to run it as scheduled for May 1st, but it bounced because the funding account was closed. The email was CC'd to my mom because she was still on the loan. 30 seconds later, my phone rang. Mom. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail, whispering, like Dad was asleep. "Elena, the mortgage didn't go through. The bank called your father. Please, Mija, just this month. Just until we figure it out. Please. I deleted it. Then Dad texted, not yelling this time. Bargaining. Elena, let's talk. Just you and me. No, Sophia. We can work something out. Maybe half? I stared at that text for a long time. Half of $240,000 is $120,000. He thought that was a compromise. I typed back one word. No. He replied instantly. Then you're making a big mistake. I turned my phone off. I took a hot shower. I stood under the water and I let myself cry for the first time since Sunday. Not because I missed them. Because I was grieving the parents I thought I had. The ones who would have been proud I saved $112,000, not angry I wouldn't save $240,000 more. When I got out, Carmen had sent me a link to a Reddit thread on our nursing about financial abuse by family. The top comment said, "The first week is the worst. They will escalate because panic is setting in. Hold the line." I opened my calendar. I had circled Sunday, day 7. It was now Wednesday night. 3 days down, 4 to go. I made a new note. Day 3 summary. Attempted fraud confirmed, smear campaign started, mortgage bounce confirmed. Then I did one more thing. I called a real estate attorney in Mesa that Carmen recommended. I had a free 15-minute consult Thursday morning. I wanted to know exactly what would happen to my parents' house if they defaulted, and to make sure my name was nowhere on that deed. It wasn't. Thank God. The attorney said, "Ms. Torres, you have done everything right. Keep documenting. Do not engage." I said, "What do I do when they show up at my door?" He said, "You don't have to open it." I hung up and I looked at my apartment door. It has a deadbolt and a peephole. I had never needed them before. My phone lit up one last time before I went to sleep. It was Sophia, 11:57 p.m. A voice note, 19 seconds. She was sobbing for real this time. "Elena, please. They're going to take my car tomorrow. Dad said if you don't help, he's going to have a heart attack. Is that what you want?" I didn't listen to it twice. I saved it to the evidence folder. I set my alarm. I had a shift in 6 hours. Day 4 was coming, and I knew from the way my mother used scripture and my father used forgery that they were not done. They were just getting started. Day 4 started with a phone call from a number I actually answered. It was Mercy Gilbert Hospital, the main line. My heart stopped. When you work ICU, a hospital calling your personal phone is never good. The nurse on the other end said, "Hi, is this Elena Torres? We have a Manuel Torres in our He listed you as next of kin." It was 7:42 a.m. I was brushing my teeth before my shift. I asked, "What happened?" She said, "Chest pain. He's stable, alert, we're running an EKG now. He is asking for you." I sat down on the edge of my bathtub. My dad is 62, overweight, pre-diabetic, eats red meat 5 times a week. A heart attack was plausible. It was also, I knew instantly, very convenient timing. I said, "I'm his daughter, but I am not his medical decision-maker. My mother Rosa Torres is. Please call her." The nurse said, "She's here with him. He is specifically asking for you. He says it's serious." I closed my eyes. I could see the whole play. Day 4, the guilt nuke. The heart attack bluff. I said, "Please tell him I hope he feels better. I will not be coming." I hung up. My hands were shaking again, but this time from adrenaline, not fear. I texted Carmen. "Dad in chest pain." They called me. She called me back in 10 seconds. "Elena, do not go." I said, "I know." At 9:15 a.m., while I was in report, my mom texted me a photo. It was Dad in a hospital bed, wearing a gown, giving a thumbs up, with an oxygen cannula in his nose. The caption from Mom, "Your father had a scare. Doctor says stress-induced. He keeps asking for you." I did not reply. I saved the photo to the evidence folder. At 11:30 a.m., Sophia went live again. This time she was in the hospital waiting room. She was whispering, "Guys, I'm at the hospital with my dad. He literally had a heart attack because of the stress my sister is causing our family. She won't even come. She won't even answer the phone. I'm so scared." 280 people were watching. Someone commented, "What's her at?" Sophia looked at the camera and said, "I'm not going to dox my own sister." Then she said, 5 seconds later, she lives in Tempe, near the IKEA. She works at Phoenix Children's. She just gave out my general location and my employer to strangers on the internet. Carmen screen recorded it. She sent it to me with the message, "This is harassment. And it's a HIPAA violation for her to disclose his condition like that if he didn't consent, but that's his problem." I forwarded the screen recording to my attorney. He replied in 20 minutes, "Save everything. We are drafting a cease and desist today." At 2 p.m., Dad was discharged. I know because Mom posted another Facebook photo. Dad in a wheelchair being pushed out, smiling. Diagnosis: stress and anxiety. Not a heart attack, not even close. Mom's caption: "Thank you God for sparing my husband. Praying my daughter finds forgiveness in her heart."
The comments were full of praying hands emojis and people tagging me. My cousin Luis texted me, "Prima, they're telling everyone you gave your dad a heart attack." I replied, "He had anxiety. He is home. They are lying." Luis said, "I believe you.
Do not contact Ms. Torres except in writing. It was signed by my attorney. It cost me $250. It was the best money I had ever spent. The tracking showed it was delivered Friday at 10:03 a.m. day 5. When I woke up at 4 p.m., I had only 3 texts, all from Sophia. 4:12 p.m. Did you really send us a lawyer letter? 4:13 p.m. Mom is hysterical. 4:15 p.m. You're really going to sue your own family? I did not answer. At 6:30 p.m. I got a notification from my Ring doorbell app. It was a DoorDash driver. He left a large envelope, no food. He took a picture and left. I waited 10 minutes, then went downstairs in my pajamas. The envelope had no return address. Inside was a handwritten letter. The goal was $240,000. The description was a masterpiece of fiction. It said her older sister, had promised to invest in her business and then backed out last minute, leaving her in debt and our parents about to be homeless. It had a photo of she had raised $340 in 3 days, mostly from $5 and $10 donations from people with no profile pictures. My mom's letter was worse. It started with "My dearest Elena" and ended with, "If you let us lose everything, I will never forgive you and God will not either." In the middle, she detailed every diaper she changed. Every time she stayed up with me when I had the flu in 3rd grade. It was an invoice for motherhood. I did not cry. I scanned both documents and added them to the evidence folder. File number 68 and 69. Then I did something I should have done years ago. I called my apartment leasing office and I added a note to my file: "Do not give out my information. Do not allow anyone into the building for me without my written consent. Family is not authorized." The manager said, "Is everything okay, Ms. Torres?" I said, "Just being proactive." That night, day 5 at 11:14 p.m., my Ring detected motion again. This time it was Sophia, in person. She was wearing sunglasses at night, a hoodie, and she was holding her phone up filming. She rang my doorbell 3 times. I watched her on my phone from my bedroom. I did not move. I did not breathe loud. She said to her phone, to her live audience, "I'm at my sister's apartment. She won't answer. She sent our parents a lawyer letter. She literally is trying to sue us because we asked for help." She stood there for 4 minutes and 12 seconds, then she left. She posted the video to her Instagram stories with my apartment building in the background, the street number visible. Carmen called me at midnight furious. "Elena, that's stalking, that's doxing. I need to sleep before my shift." I slept with my phone on loud, with Carmen on my favorites list, and a chair wedged under my door handle, even though I knew that was irrational. Nurses are rational until our family makes us feel like teenagers again. Day 6 was Saturday. I woke up to an email from Instagram. Someone had reported Sophia's story for harassment and it had been taken down. I didn't report it. Carmen did and Louis did. And apparently 3 of my nursing coworkers who had seen it. I went to Tempe Police Department on my lunch break. I filed a report for harassment. I brought my evidence folder on a USB drive. The officer, a woman about my age, took my statement. She watched the video of Sophia at my door. She said, "This is enough for a warning. Do you want us to contact her?" I said, "No, not yet. I just want it documented." She gave me a case number. I added it to the folder. When I got home Saturday night, there was a voicemail from Dad. His voice was different, not yelling, not bargaining, tired, old. "Elena, it's Dad. Look, we got the lawyer letter. Your mother is. She's not doing well. The bank called again yesterday. The house, we're 30 days from foreclosure if we don't catch up the 3 payments you stopped. Sophia's car got repossessed this morning. From our driveway, she is a mess. I know I said some things. I was angry. I'm your father. I'm supposed to protect you, not. Anyway, can we just talk? Just come over tomorrow. Your mom is making puzzle." It was the first time in my life my father had ever sounded like he was asking, not telling. I did not call back. At 9 p.m., I got a text from an unknown number. Hi Elena, this is Mark with BMW Financial. We are trying to reach Sophia Torres regarding her account. You are listed as co-signer. The vehicle was recovered today at 8:47 a.m. in Mesa, AZ. There will be a deficiency balance. Please call us. I deleted it. I was no longer a co-signer as of day 1. Jamal at Wells Fargo had confirmed the release was processing. Let them call. I sat on my balcony on day 6 night. I opened my calendar. Tomorrow was Sunday, day 7, the day I had circled a week ago. I looked at my evidence folder. 79 files. Photos, texts, voicemails, police report, FTC report, attorney letter, bank confirmations. I looked at my bank account. For the first time in 7 years, my checking account had more than $20,000 in it, because I wasn't sending $1,840 to my parents, because I wasn't covering Sophia's car. Because I wasn't the family ATM, my phone buzzed. Mom 10:03 p.m. Puzzle tomorrow at 1, please come just to talk. Dad 10:04 p.m. Please. 3 texts in a row. The first time they had all said sorry, even if Sophia's had a question mark. I did not reply. I turned my phone on Do Not Disturb. I set my alarm for 8 a.m. I laid out scrubs for Monday. I knew exactly what would happen tomorrow. They would all come, not because they were sorry. Because the mortgage was due, the car was gone, the GoFundMe had failed, and the lawyer letter scared them. They were out of options. They would bring puzzle. They would bring tears. They would bring the same folder with the $240,317 highlighted. And I would open the door, I would listen, and I would say the 2 words I had been practicing for 7 days. I went asleep on day 6 with my deadbolt locked, my evidence backed up to 3 places, and my heart beating steady for the first time in years. Tomorrow was day 7.
Sunday, day 7. I woke up at 7:13 a.m. without an alarm. My apartment was quiet. I made coffee. I did not check my phone. At 8 a.m., I turned my phone off, Do Not Disturb. 17 texts. All from the same 3 numbers. Mom, we're bringing puzzle at 1. Please be home. Dad, we need to talk as a family. Sophia, can you at least let us explain? I did not answer any of them. I showered. I put on real clothes, not scrubs. Dark jeans, a black sweater. I looked like a person who was not going to be yelled at in her own living room. At 9:30 a.m., I printed 3 copies of a document from my attorney. It was simple. 1 page. Acknowledgement of financial independence. It stated that as of April 24th, I, Elena Torres, would no longer provide any financial support, co-signing, or joint accounts to Manuel, Rosa, or Sophia Torres. It stated that any further attempts at identity theft would be prosecuted. It had a line for them to sign, acknowledging receipt. They didn't have to sign it. I just wanted them to see it in writing. At 10:15 a.m., Carmen came over. She brought donuts and moral support. She is a witness by profession. She sat on my couch with her laptop open to a blank incident report. At 12:45 p.m., my Ring app pinged. Motion. A silver Toyota Camry I recognized as my dad's pulled into a visitor spot. All 3 of them got out. Dad carrying a large pot with oven mitts. Mom carrying a tote bag. Sophia carrying her phone, already recording. Carmen looked at me. You ready? I said, I've been ready for 7 years. They took the elevator. I heard them in the hallway at 12:58 p.m. Dad knocked. Not the doorbell. 3 solid knocks, the way he always knocked when I was a teenager and out past curfew. I looked through the peephole. Mom's eyes were red. Dad looked 10 years older than last Sunday. Sophia had her phone up, pointed at the door. I opened the door. I did not step aside to let them in. Dad held up the pot. We brought puzzle. I said, I'm not hungry. Mom started crying immediately. Mija, please. Sophia whispered to her phone. She won't even let us in. I looked at Sophia's phone. I said, turn that off or I close the door. She hesitated, then lowered it. She didn't turn it off, but she lowered it. Dad said, can we come in? 5 minutes. I stepped back. Carmen stood up from the couch. My parents looked surprised to see someone else there. Carmen said, Hi, I'm Carmen, Elena's friend. I'm just here as a witness. Dad frowned. A witness for what? I said, for this conversation. They came in. Mom put the tote bag on my kitchen counter. Inside, I could see the manila folder from last Sunday. The $240,317 folder. They sat on my couch, all three in a row, like they were at a parent-teacher conference. I sat in the armchair across from them. Carmen sat at the dining table with her laptop. Dad started. He used his reasonable voice. Elena, we got your lawyer letter. We understand you're angry. We said some things we didn't mean. I said, which part didn't you mean, Dad? The part where you said pay $240,000 or you're not our child, or the part where you tried to take out a $22,000 loan in my name the next day. Mom gasped. We were desperate. I slid a copy of the fraudulent loan application across the coffee table. This is a felony, Mom. Desperate doesn't make it legal. Dad looked at the paper and his face went red. That was a mistake. The bank misunderstood. I slid the next paper. The FTC Identity Theft Report. This is the second one. Freedom Plus, $35,000, 3 weeks ago. From your house, Dad. He didn't pick it up. Sophia jumped in. Okay, fine, we messed up. But I'm literally ruined. My car got repoed yesterday. In front of the neighbors. Do you know how humiliating that was? I said, do you know how humiliating it is to find out your family tried to steal your identity? Mom opened the tote bag and pulled out the folder. She opened it to the yellow highlighted total. $240,317. She pushed it toward me like an offering. Mija, we are going to lose the house. The bank sent a notice. We are 90 days delinquent now because your payment stopped. We have until May 30th to bring $5,520 current or they start foreclosure. I looked at the notice she pulled out. Wells Fargo Home Mortgage. Notice of intent to accelerate. Dated May 2nd. 3 missed payments, including the one I canceled. I felt a strange flicker of guilt, then it passed. I had paid $69,920. That was not my mortgage. I said, I'm sorry to hear that. Dad leaned forward. Sorry? That's it? You're going to let your mother be homeless. I said, no, Dad. You're going to let Mom be homeless. You took out a second mortgage in 2017 to pay for Sophia's influencer course. You co-signed a $54,000 business loan for Sophia in 2023. You made those choices. I just stopped paying for them. Sophia started crying, real tears this time. Elena, please. I'll do anything. I'll get a job. I'll pay you back. Just help me this one time. $240,000. You have it in savings, I know you do. I almost laughed. Sophia, I have $82,000 in savings. That's for a down payment on a condo, for my retirement, for my life. That's not for your bad decisions. Mom said, Proverbs says dash. I cut her off. Mom, stop. Don't use the Bible to ask me for money. Carmen typed quietly. Dad changed tactics. He softened his voice. Mija, we are family. We made mistakes. Your mom and I, we spoiled Sophia. We thought you were strong enough to handle it. We were wrong. Please. Just help us save the house. Not Sophia's debt. Just the house. $5,520. That's all. It was the most honest thing he had ever said to me. We spoiled Sophia. We thought you were strong enough. For a second, I almost considered it. $5,000 to save their house. I could afford it. Then I remembered the loan application with my forged signature. I remembered the GoFundMe that called me a liar. I remembered Sophia at my door at 11 p.m. filming me. I said, no. The word hung in the air. Mom whispered, Elena. I picked up the 3 copies of the Acknowledgement of Financial Independence. I handed one to each of them. This is what's happening, I said. My voice was steady. I see you steady. I will not be giving you any money. Not $240,000. Not $5,520. Not $5. I will not co-sign anything. I will not be on any accounts. I have filed police reports for the identity theft attempts. I have a cease and desist from my attorney. If you contact my employer again, if you come to my home uninvited again, if you post my information online again, I will file for a restraining order. Sophia stared at the paper like it was written in another language. You're really going to do this? Over money? I said, no, Sophia. I'm doing this because of what you do for money. Dad stood up. He was shaking. Not with anger. With something else. Panic. So that's it? 7 days and you're just done with us. I stood up too. I looked at all three of them. My family. The people I had paid for, cleaned up after, and covered for since I was 26. I said, no, Dad. It wasn't 7 days. It was 7 years. You just noticed 7 days ago. Mom was sobbing into her hands. Where will we go? I said, I don't know. That's not my problem anymore. Dad picked up the pot of pozole. He looked at it, then at me. He set it back down, hard. Fine. You want to be dead to us? You're dead to us. I nodded. You already said that last Sunday. I'm just agreeing with you now. Sophia stood up, her phone still in her hand. She looked at me with pure hatred. I hope you're happy. I hope your money keeps you warm at night. I walked to my front door and I opened it. I held it open. Carmen closed her laptop. I looked at my dad, then my mom, then my sister. I said the 2 words I had practiced for a week. The 2 words that ended it. Too late. They stared at me. I said it again, clearer. You had 7 years to treat me like a daughter. You had 7 days to apologize. You brought pozole and a folder. It's too late. Dad walked out first. He didn't look at me. Mom followed, crying, clutching her tote bag. Sophia stopped in the doorway. She turned her phone around and tried to film my face one last time. I said, turn it off, Sophia. She smirked. Or what? Carmen stood up and said, calmly, or I call the police and add video harassment to the existing case number. Sophia turned it off. She walked out. I closed the door. I locked the deadbolt. I leaned against it and I exhaled for what felt like the first time in a week. Carmen came over and hugged me. She didn't say anything. She didn't need to. My ring app pinged again at 1:34 p.m. They were in the parking lot, standing by their car, arguing. Dad threw his hands up. Mom sat on the curb and put her head in her hands. Sophia was on her phone, probably posting. I watched them for a minute, then I closed the app. At 2 p.m., I got an email from Wells Fargo. Not to me. Forwarded from Mom, accidentally. It was the foreclosure timeline. If they didn't pay $5,520 by May 30th, proceedings would begin June 15th. I deleted it. At 3:17 p.m., Sophia posted a final Instagram story. No tears. Just text on a black background. Sometimes family isn't blood. It's who shows up. Thank you to everyone who donated to my GoFundMe. My sister chose money. I choose peace. She had raised $410 total. At 5 p.m., I ordered pizza. Carmen and I ate it on my balcony. We didn't talk about them. At 8 p.m., I opened my laptop and I transferred $5,000 from my savings into a new account I labeled condo down payment. Then I transferred $1,840, the exact amount of their old mortgage payment, into an account labeled my future. It felt like a ritual. Like getting my money back. On Monday morning, I went to work. My charge nurse asked me how my weekend was. I said, quiet. At 2 p.m., I got an email from Wells Fargo. Not to me. Forwarded from Mom, accidentally. It was the foreclosure timeline. If they didn't pay $5,520 by May 30th, Proceedings would begin June 15th. I deleted it at 3:17 p.m. Sophia posted a final Instagram story. No tears. Just text on a black background. Sometimes family isn't blood. It's who shows up. Thank you to everyone who donated to my GoFundMe. My sister chose money. I choose peace. She had raised $410 total. At 5 p.m. I ordered pizza. Carmen and I ate it on my balcony. We didn't talk about them. At 8 p.m. I opened my laptop and I transferred $5,000 from my savings into a new account I labeled condo down payment. Then I transferred $1,840, the exact amount of their old mortgage payment, into an account labeled my future. It felt like a ritual. Like getting my money back. On Monday morning, I went to work. My charge nurse asked me how my weekend was. I said, quiet. Peaceful. She said, you look lighter. I was. Over the next month, I heard things through cousins. My parents did not lose the house on May 30th. They borrowed $6,000 from my tío Jorge against Dad's truck title. They are now 3 months behind him instead of the bank. Sophia moved back into their house after her apartment evicted her for non-payment. She got a job at Ulta, part-time, $16 an hour. She sold her designer bags on Poshmark. She deleted the GoFundMe. Dad has not spoken to me. Mom texts me every Sunday, a Bible verse, no request for money. I do not reply, but I do not block her. Last week, I was approved for a mortgage pre-approval. $385,000. I am looking at condos in Scottsdale with a balcony big enough for a small herb garden. Yesterday, I got a letter in the mail. Handwritten. From Sophia. No return address, but I recognized her loopy writing. It said, Elena, I'm in therapy. I'm sorry I tried to use you. Dad told me you were the strong one, so I never had to be. I'm learning to be strong now. I don't expect you to answer. I just wanted you to know. I folded it and put it in a drawer. I didn't throw it away. I didn't reply. Not yet. Maybe someday. People ask me if I feel guilty. If I regret saying, then I'm not, and too late. I tell them the truth I learned in the ICU. You cannot save a patient who keeps pulling out their own for. You can love them, you can chart everything, you can call the family, but at some point you have to step back and let the consequences do the work. My family pulled out their own for 7 years. I just finally stopped reinserting it. I am Elena Torres. I am 34 years old. I am an ICU travel nurse. I make good money. I have no husband, no kids, and as of 7 days in April, I have no family debt, and for the first time in my adult life, my money is mine. My peace is mine. My future is mine. It was worth the 7 days of hell to get here. It was worth saying 2 words too late. If you've ever been the one in your family who always says yes, the one who pays the bill, covers the rent, fixes the emergency, I hope my story made you feel a little less alone. I am Elena Torres. I am 34 years old. And for 7 years, I thought love meant paying for everyone else's mistakes. It doesn't. Love doesn't ask you to commit fraud. Love doesn't threaten to disown you over money. And love definitely doesn't show up at your door with posel after trying to steal your identity, saying no cost me my family. Saying too late gave me my life back. My parents still have their house for now. Sophia is working at Ulta and actually paying her own bills for the first time. And me? I closed on my condo last month. It has a balcony, just like I wanted. No one else has a key. If you're listening to this and you're stuck in the same cycle I was in, start your 7 days. Freeze the card. Cancel the transfer. Call the bank. Document everything. It's scary for a week. It's peaceful for the rest of your life. Thank you for spending this time with me. If this story hit home for you, please hit that like button, subscribe to Justice Served Tales, and tell me in the comments, what would you have said when your dad gave you that ultimatum? I read every single comment. Next week. I'm telling you about the time my brother tried to sell our grandmother's house while she was still living in it, and how I stopped the closing with one phone call, 12 minutes before the papers were signed. It's a story about deeds, lies, and a notary who shouldn't have taken a $500 bribe. I'll see you then. Until then, protect your peace, even if it costs your family. I'm Elena. And this was Justice Served.